Alright, let's pretend like today is the first day I decided to learn Japanese. What would I do differently? What would I do the same way, knowing what I know now? Starting out with what I would really recommend anyone who starts today is to just get started. Because getting started sounds so easy, but it's actually sometimes really hard. And I'm so grateful that I found my first lessons on YouTube and I learned through videos. Because if I bought a textbook, it would probably end up on my shelf and I would never touch it. You know, getting started always seems so hard, but at the same time, it seems to only work when you have somebody to help you or when you have really good motivation. Which brings me to a recent lesson that I learned, and that is motivation. You need intrinsic motivation, not just extrinsic motivation. You see, I like learning Japanese or languages in general. I really like learning about the language, how the grammar works, and just figuring out a language. And I think this is quite important because if you want to learn Japanese, but at the same time you don't want to learn Japanese, like actually learn a language, then I think you're basically So recently I found that if you don't have a great goal, or you just don't like learning a language, like I like learning grammar and figuring out a language, like I just said, then you will lose motivation. Always. You'll just quit at some point. And for me, I stopped learning because I didn't have a goal. I didn't have a goal when I started, and then as I got better, I just didn't know what to do anymore and I lost motivation. So how do you find that motivation? Well, I made a video about that, the whole topic, how to find motivation and your true goal. So you can watch that here if you want. But basically you have to ask yourself these two questions. Why do I want to learn Japanese? And two, do I actually want to learn Japanese? Learn the language. Learn language. And then moving on to perhaps the most important thing in this whole language learning thing is time. Progress takes time. Don't compare yourself to others. Someone will always be better. Forget about time. Focus on now. I think the mindset that you need is that at first, when you are new to the language, you want to learn. You are curious and therefore you want to keep learning and keep going. It's that consistency that you really need. And if you lose that, then you get into troubles. Now, depending on your goal, learning Japanese can take, I don't know, 1 year up to 10 years maybe, perhaps even your whole life. But you shouldn't have unrealistic expectations. You can't just learn a language in a month or 2 months. I mean, you can learn some things, but this depends again on your goal. So for me, after a few years, I started to think, why do I not understand so many things in this language? Why I've been learning for like 3 years and still I don't understand things. And that really demotivated me because I thought over a long period of time I'll get better. So what happened is I didn't learn anything new. There was no more progress because I didn't put in fuel, aka the effort. I was just waiting and time was passing and I had unrealistic expectations because I thought after a while I should know certain things. And what I should have done is find some new resources and get back to learning, just consistent learning. Which brings me to the next point, which is grammar or resources in general. Now, this is actually something that I think I did really well. If I had to pick from any resource, I would just do what I did again, and that is basically find educational content on YouTube or videos in general, something that you like, and then use that, especially in the starting phase when you don't know much. You have to find a way to make it fun so that you can get consistent at it and form a habit, and then learn consistently. You can't just go around the internet and just try to find different stuff and learn random topics, because that just doesn't work. Unless that is what you want to learn and you want to learn about random shit. But realistically, I don't think that's what you want to do. Because frankly, I think any resource will do as long as it can keep you studying. So it doesn't really matter what resource you use, because there's always something that you don't know yet, which you can also just look up online. Now, as for kanji and vocab, this is where I really messed up, I think. So I just told you the importance of time, and what I did is I never really took the time to learn vocabulary or kanji. And now what happened is when I am reading something or listening to something, well, not reading, but mostly listening to something, to conversation, I feel like I know the sentences and I know the structure of the sentence and what is supposed to mean, but there's just so many gaps. Like there's different parts of the sentence that I don't understand. Basically, I don't understand the whole meaning of the sentence because of that. It's like a recipe that you know how to do it and you know what to do and in what order, but you don't know what ingredients to use. So in the end, you don't understand anything and there's no result. So the lesson I learned from this is start learning vocab as soon as possible. Now for kanji, it really depends on you. In my case, I want to really understand a lot of things, so I really want to learn kanji. And also, if you want to learn vocab, then you should probably read things, and for reading you have to learn kanji. I think if you're learning Japanese, 90% of the time, learning kanji is essential. So start learning kanji ASAP. As for how you're going to learn kanji, I made a video about that, so you can watch that if you want. But basically find something that works, and it's the same as grammar. You just do it consistently every day, learn a few kanji and review them, and then little by little you start knowing a few kanji here and there, and then before you know it, 1 year later, you know a lot of kanji. Now, as for speaking, well, I mentioned that I really like understanding the language and figuring out the language and learning language in general, but speaking, I just really didn't focus on that because I wouldn't say I don't enjoy it, but I don't really care too much about it. Trying to understand a language and trying to speak a language are kind of different. I mean, they have common things, of course, but they are also kind of different. Like, for example, right now I cannot just switch to Japanese and start speaking Japanese because I have never done anything like that. I have had some conversation in Japanese, but I think I only did that for like 3 or 4 times. And actually I had a thought recently, what happens if I go to a Japanese person and try to have a conversation with him? So I'm planning a video, and if that one is done, then you can find it in the description as well. But I think that would be pretty interesting. Anyway, if my goal was to be able to speak Japanese fluently, then I would have told you to start practicing speaking from the beginning, because it's like a muscle memory and you have to learn how to do it. I know for Japanese it's especially important because Japanese has different speech styles, like there's formal and informal, and then written and spoken is just different, so you would have to really study that from the beginning. And then I guess something else I thought about recently is visiting Japan. I am planning to visit Japan, but you know, I should have done that before actually, because the sooner you go the better. It doesn't matter what your level is, whether you're a beginner or advanced learner, you can always go there and have fun, and I'm so sure that when I go there I'll actually feel so much more motivated to continue learning Japanese, and I think you should give that a try too. So yeah, those are basically all my tips that I would have told myself if I started learning Japanese again. If you do have some other tips, then please let me know, and I'll see you again in another video. Bye bye.